Thank you all for joining me today for the interviews for the Cost Action Multicomp. I'm glad you can all join, and it's nice that you're all here. You're all invited because you participated in Multicomp, in the Cost Action, and you were all on a short-term scientific mission. So I'm Irina Kühne, and I'm welcoming you here to join me. So maybe let's start with some introduction round where you briefly mention where you come from, what you're working on, and where you went for a short-term scientific mission. Fatima, I think.
I am Bouanis Fatima. I am a researcher at NACR team. It's a joint research team between University of Gustave Eiffel and École Polytechnique in France. I studied the development of new generation of the devices based on nanomaterials.
So my name is Pawel Rodziewicz. I'm working in Poland at the Jan Kochanowski University in Kielce. I'm dealing with theoretical chemistry. So I'm doing basically different kind of simulations and calculations on different systems, mostly on carbon allotropes, including carbon nanotubes, functionalized Fourier events, and also other kind of molecules, like, for example, chemical warfare agents, or doing research on matrix isolations, reactions. So basically, I'm helping experimentalists to understand the process, the chemical processes on the atomistic level.
Hi, I'm Callie Haynes. I'm based in the UK at University College London. Although when I took part in the STSM scheme, I was at the University of Cambridge working as a postdoctoral researcher. My research is in the field of supramolecular chemistry, so making synthetic hosts and materials that can perform tasks like molecular recognition and transport. And I visited the University of Trieste in Italy, working with the group of Professor Sylvia Marchesane as part of my STSM.
Hello everyone, my name is Tamas Szabo. I'm from Hungary, from South Hungary, from one of the biggest universities, which is located in Szeged city, and the name of university is Szeged University. That's quite simple. I'm an assistant professor there, so I'm both teaching and conducting research. My teaching relates to physical chemistry, but especially related to colloidal interface science. In research, I also dealing with colloidal systems and also science related to carbon materials, especially graphene oxide, graphite oxide. Material science is my fields of expertise.
Hello everybody, my name is Maria Rybarczyk and I come from Poland. Right now I'm working as a postdoctoral research fellow at Lublin University of Technology. And currently I'm working on the development of sustainable, renewable and also functional materials for a range of applications, including but not limited to the green energy conversion and storage technologies. And during my STSM, I visited Professor Ruov's lab in South Korea.
Hello everyone, my name is Jelena. I come from Novi Sad, Serbia. I work in University of Novi Sad, Faculty of Technology. And I'm working on hybrid polymeric hydrogels for use in soft tissue engineering. These hydrogels are reinforced with multiple carbon nanotubes. And this last 3 years, I worked with them because this is my PhD thesis.
Thank you very much. That's really interesting to have such a big variety of people from all over Europe who traveled also either within Europe or abroad. May I ask you, where did you travel and how did you choose your destination? And also, what was the aim of your short-term scientific mission? Maybe Tamas, you could start.
Yes, let me start then. Actually, I didn't travel too far from Hungary. I traveled to Romania, to the capital, Polytechnica Bucharest. How was it about? I didn't plan it like that at the beginning of that year, but I participated in the COST conference in Portugal, in Aveiro, and there Professor Marius Anacescu approached me at my poster, and he was very interested about our composites, magnetic carbon composites, and he suggested that I should let's make a linkage and collaboration, and he invited me for the short-term scientific mission. And that's it. Sorry, what was the last part of the question?
How did you, so you chose your destination, and
yes.
What was the aim?
The aim was very briefly, because we don't have much time. I was interested that how our carbon particles, graphite oxide particles look like by electron microscope, because this professor has one of the most advanced electron microscopes in Europe. And I was curious if that after ultrasonic treatment, my particles become like holy or not. So it looks like an Emmentaler cheese with holes inside, or it looks like a Gruyere cheese or something. So the carbon particles became intact. That was the most interesting.
For STSM, I was in Białystok, Poland, at Institute of Chemistry. I was at a group of Professor Beata. And during my STSM, I worked on morphological characterization of polyurethane hydrogels, reinforced with multi-ball carbon nanotubes. Like I said, my PhD thesis is about polyurethane hydrogels, and this characterization is crucial for my PhD thesis. 3 years ago, when I first go on training school at this cost action, I see Professor Beata, because that training school was at the Institute of Chemistry at Białystok, and I decided to go there because of that. I see all the labs and everything what they do there.
Thank you.
So I think my story is also, now I see that my story about COS is also related to Jelena's story, because I was previously working in Białystok at the University of Białystok, and then at this place I came across to the COST idea because I was asked by Professor Beata Kalska to give a talk at the conference, which was organized for the COST participants. And then at this meeting, at this conference, I met Professor Ioannis Remediakis from Greece, and then that was very nice meeting, a nice conference, and I really enjoyed it. And then, of course, I also enjoyed the company of Ioannis. And then we talk about, so during some breaks and also at the lunch, we talk about possible projects. And then he said, okay, maybe you can come to visit me within the short-term scientific mission to visit me. So, Professor Remediakis is a well-known scientist in the field of material science. So he was also doing his PhD at the Harvard University. So he came to Greece. So then I said, okay, maybe I will just gain from his experience in material science. So therefore, then I went to the Department of Material Science and Technology at the University of Crete. So to visit Professor Remediakis, and then we have been working on a common project about the absorption of organic molecules on the carbon nanotubes. So I really enjoy it because then we somehow, this was a really fruitful collaboration then, and I found this idea of such a short trip very interesting, that one can really very easily travel to somebody, visit, and then you can exchange the scientific ideas and also work on the projects which basically there are no restrictions within this short time scientific mission, which I found very nice. So this was my trip.
Thank you.
So I visited the University of Trieste in Italy. From my university at the time was the University of Cambridge, and at the time I was working on some projects involving metal organic coordination cages, which are sort of capsule-shaped molecules which have a cavity inside, and then you can use this to either trap guests inside or even perform catalysis on whatever is inside your cage. And my PI was Professor Jonathan Nishki, and at the time he had some previous links with Professor Marchessan, and we'd been talking a little bit about some collaborative projects trying to combine our different fields of expertise into a single, into different projects. So Professor Marchessan had lots of expertise in materials chemistry, in gel materials, and also in carbon nanomaterials. And when the opportunity for the STSMs was advertised, Sylvia suggested that we could put together a project idea together to combine our expertise. And so the idea was that we would try to covalently tether our cage molecules onto the surface of some carbon nanomaterials to try and then kind of perform our normal supramolecular host guest chemistry on the surface of some nanomaterials. And so I was very lucky to spend some time working in Sylvia's lab. It was fantastic. I had a real crash course in kind of handling and characterizing nanomaterials, and I got to learn and kind of experience so many different techniques which I'd never experienced before. And I had a really wonderful time. Everyone was so welcoming and really supportive.
I traveled to at the International Iberian Nanotechnology Laboratory at Braga, Portugal, in order to initiate a new collaboration between NACR team and the INL about the development of new generation of sensors based on nanomaterials. Thanks to STSM, I visited another laboratory that has performance equipment such as cleaning room. I met Professor Pedro Alpium, and I had an important discussion with other researchers at this institute. Now we have 2 projects together, and we prepare to submit a paper.
Thanks. Lovely.
Okay, and about me, actually I remember when Professor Malik announced the collaboration with Professor Rodney Ruoff as a COST international partner. I knew I need to go to work in his lab. Professor Ruoff is the director of the Center for Multidimensional Carbon Materials at Institute for Basic Science in Ulsan in South Korea. And for the first time, he made single crystal samples of graphite. And my first association was with Professor Jan Czochralski and his most important discovery, namely the technology for growing metal single crystals. And it was a nice coincidence that we never met before. And as a curiosity, I can tell you that before I visited his lab, I met him during a carbon conference in Melbourne. He was opening the conference as a keynote lecturer, but at the same time, I closed some of the session with oral presentation. And about my STSM, I did it during my final year of my PhD studies at Gdańsk University of Technology. And Professor Ruoff devised my research interests. And about the proposed effort, the STSM targeted characterization of previously prepared high surface area carbonaceous nanomaterials. And in South Korea, I investigated those materials as electrodes for electrochemical energy storage devices, namely supercapacitors. And during this short-term scientific effort, I have learned how to use modern, up-to-date techniques and also laboratory equipment. Yeah, I would like to acknowledge all people involved in the characterization and who cooperated with me, and especially Professor Rodziewicz for hosting and fruitful discussion. And also I would acknowledge Dr. Rybarczyk for introducing and also helping me with Raman experiments, with Raman measurements. I also brought nice memories from culture in South Korea. I mean, very nice hospitable people. It was really, really good time for me.
I think that's the majority of outcomes of the short-term scientific missions. People really enjoy having gone somewhere. And I think that's the really important part of the cost actions, to allow people to travel to different labs and to give them the opportunity to use research equipment, which they don't have in their home institute. So I would say, I will ask you as well to say, did you really enjoy it? What have you experienced what difference have you experienced from your host lab in comparison to your home institute? And are you still in contact with people over there? Pawel, maybe, Tamas, maybe you can start again.
Yeah, so maybe, so starting from the working environment, yeah, so as I said, I met Professor Rybarczyk in Poland at a conference, and then we thought, okay, this was really like lunch discussion, and then I really liked that from this small idea, then it went really to the larger realization of this idea, that I could really go to visit him. And then, as I said before, I really like that I could get I could really that he can really share his experience in material science with me. And I found it also so nice that it was very easy to arrange this short-time scientific mission. Yeah? So there was really not much bureaucracy. So not like it is usually in Poland with all the, I mean, with all travels that you really have to arrange, ask for the money, arrange the things and so on. So this was really very fast and efficient. So I could really focus on exchanging the scientific issues and not really focusing on some bureaucratic things. And then so within such a visit, you can really go very closely to the new environment, and also somehow spend this time in exchanging the ideas, working together on something which you had in your mind. And what I personally gained was then the attitude how to handle the system, so especially the periodic system. So how can you describe the interactions in the periodic systems like carbon nanotubes? And also I like a lot that I could talk with Professor Rybarczyk about the chemical aspects of the adsorption, so especially theoretical modeling of the adsorption, which I mean, he's a well-known expert in material science, so I was really very happy to talk to him and have the opportunity to really stay at his lab and exchange his ideas and exchange these scientific ideas, especially that the working environment is also very nice. I mean, so I was also shocked how nice working conditions they have in Crete, because this was exactly at the foundation for research and technology building. So this is like it was.
Are you still in contact with him?
Yes, so we are in contact. However, I changed the job. So for me, this was this was a bit difficult because shortly after this visit, I had to change the job. So this was a bit complicated. So now I have the new position at the new place. So we are in touch, and then I also want to continue this, but yeah, now it's a bit difficult. But I will definitely continue this scientific relation, and then I think I will also. I mean, I also told him that I will invite him here to Poland as soon as we get rid of COVID. Yeah, so.
Thanks. Tamas, maybe you can follow.
Yes, just briefly comment on. I completely share the same view as Pawel regarding the bureaucracy, that it's quite simple. We don't need special permissions and so on, which we face many times from local funding agencies, at least in Hungary and maybe other countries, that we didn't need to ask permission from here and there, and the strict administration rules we didn't need to face. Of course, we needed to write a report, but that was normal and was not overcomplicated. Regarding contact, I currently don't have contact with them because they also have struggles like in our countries, but it's not forever, hopefully.
Jelena, have you still contact with your host institution?
Yes, I'm in contact. After I come back from STSM, Professor Beata came to Novi Sad to our faculty just a little bit before lockdown of the country, and we had some meeting with our my professor and another people from faculty, and we had some idea for new project and new type of article and papers, but now everything is at wait after pandemic finish, I hope soon. And I was really enjoyed my STSM because I have a great opportunity to work with some devices which I don't have possible in my country, because we are a little country and we don't have a lot of universities and a lot of labs. Because of that, this was a great opportunities for me to, and now I know to work with TM and SEM.
So I'm still in contact with the host of my SCSM a bit, Sylvia, and we have some projects to continue with my old group in Cambridge. So we're still working on hopefully some publications for the future. We don't have any official collaborations now that I have recently started my new group, although this is something I'd definitely be keen to chat to Sylvia about in the future. And I just wanted to add how much, again, I enjoyed the STSM, and also one of the biggest benefits for me was the opportunity to try and start a new project, a new collaboratory project with both me and somebody else who was an expert in the other aspect, kind of in one place working together. Because so often collaboration in science is done by, I don't know, in my case, it could have been, I could have put my materials in the post, and then, you know, Danny Iglesias, who was the student, the PhD student I was working with in Trieste, he could have done all of the studies, and then we could have communicated by email or Skype or whatever. But having us both in the same lab at the same time was so valuable, because there were just things I think we would never have talked about and we would never have discovered if we were kind of doing this at distance. And so, I mean, I learned a lot. I hope that Danny learned a little bit as well. And yeah, it was just a really positive experience, just for the opportunity to try something completely new and just to be directly involved in all of the science as well.
Yeah, I think it makes a huge difference if you associate a sample with a face, and instead of having an anonymous sample from somewhere which came by post, and it gave you the great opportunity to meet new people, a different lab and everything.
And a bit more understanding of the results as well. If somebody was just emailing me some results from a technique I'd never tried before, maybe I wouldn't have understood them so well.
Yeah. Fatima?
Yes, as I mentioned before, we have two projects with the INL. under leadership of Professor Pedro Alpion. And we prepare to submit a paper together and European projects.
Lovely. So you're still in contact with them, I assume?
Yes, I had a meeting yesterday with them.
Oh, nice. Okay, Maria, final remarks?
So in my case, it's actually a little bit complicated because right now I am not in contact with Professor Ruoff because actually my STSM was during my final PhD year. And then once I completed my PhD project, I worked in the petroleum industry, and now I came back to academia. So definitely I will contact to Professor Ruoff. But recently I had a small talk with Dr. Recep Yüksel about future possible collaboration on carbon materials. I mean, just to trying to exchange some knowledge and maybe also samples. So it's gonna happen, I hope.
That's great.
And just a quick note, Maria, Professor Ruoff is extremely important. You know better than me. So he's leading a big institute. It's not easy to keep contact with
so it's really hard also.
I guess it's not only
so that's why I also really appreciate this opportunity.
So it's not only the head of the department or the main collaborator you're still in contact with. I guess you also had contact with the PhD students, the postdocs over there. Sometimes you build friendships.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I have contact with people working in units.
Yeah, so plenty of you have mentioned that now with the corona restrictions, everything is more difficult. The pandemic has hit us 14 months ago, and how does all of the restriction restrict your life, your work, your work in the lab as well? Maybe Jelena, you can start with that question.
Yes, in my country, at Serbia, we were locked down for about 3 months. And that was really awful for all of us because we are people from laboratory, and now we must sit home and work at our computers and write all the things, all the results from another researchers and everything else. And this situation is really bad for us from small country because I'm from Serbia and we are not from in European Union. That's another bad thing because I can't travel now because I can go in European Union, and this situation really now about 14 months, and I think that's more about 6 more months for us from another countries without European Union.
Yeah, I can imagine that's
and
difficult.
From I was without my laboratory for 3 months, and because of that I can't finish my PhD thesis, and it was really, this year was really bad for me actually. I not just because of PhD, but all the researchers and everything else was breakdown.
I can imagine that's really difficult.
Yes.
Fatima, maybe you can follow up.
For me, the impact is the reduction of working time at the office, which reduced the experiment that I want to do. For the first time, I wrote only the projects and the papers.
Maria, how does the COVID restriction depend on you?
So life has changed because of the pandemic in the lab and beyond, and work working from home has become more widespread. Also in my case, because research labs just shut down or at a minimum operated on vastly altered schedules. But on the other hand, I can see that limited time in the lab has forced also myself to think carefully about how I am using that time. I become better at planning experiments and also much of collaboration. Have occurred in the virtual. Become a theoretical scientist also. I had only been about 4 months when the pandemic prompted shutting down the lab. So I think that of course, depending on the country, but also working when labs did open, it was often in small groups with distance required between lab members. So I hope it's because of the vaccinations and also when the pandemic will gone, it will work better. But anyway, it will take some months to settle down laboratory works.
Yeah, I guess we're all hoping that at one point it will become better, but let's see. Maybe we go over. Kali, you are in England. How is it there?
It's getting better in the UK at the moment, slowly. We in March last year, towards the end of March, we had to close the labs entirely. So we had to move to doing everything remotely. So I feel very lucky that I was able to start my position before this. So I started in June 2019. I had about 9 months in my position before the pandemic really hit the UK. I had 2 master students doing lab projects at the time, so we had to very quickly convert their projects to theoretical projects. It's involved learning a lot of new skills for me as well, because I'm a purely experimental chemist until a year ago. So we've all been learning some new skills so that we can try to find alternative aspects of our work we can study remotely. And so since then, in between March, I had a PhD student start in September. And so she was the next person I had working in the lab with me after the master students had to leave in March. So there was a big gap where there was just the only person who could go in the lab was me when I had time to do so. So it certainly had a big effect on how much lab-based research we could get done. But I think we've learned some other really valuable skills and maybe some new perspectives that we can apply to our future work as well, which I hope will be helpful to us. But yeah, it slowed things down for me, but it's slowed things down for everyone as well. I think we all have to remember this. Everyone has been hit by the pandemic. So, we have to be kind to ourselves as well and celebrate what we've been able to do well in this time.
That's true. We're all in the same boat. Every country was hit quite hard. Tamas, how was in Hungary?
Yes, actually, we started relatively well in the first waves and the second wave. Now we are having a quite bad situation. We are just sitting in the middle of the third wave of the pandemic. As a supervisor, I also have some hardships with the students, but mostly as a teacher, because I'm teaching chemistry, and general chemistry, as everyone can understand, cannot be taught online, because the student need the practice, and I can explain what is the Erlenmeyer flask, how do we titrate, how we calculate some things that works, but the hands-on experience is very much missing for some students. So basically that's the situation. And finally, I'm terribly sorry to tell you that I will soon need to leave, maybe
That's
in
fine.
5 minutes, because I couldn't estimate my time schedule, but I try to explain everything. I'm still here for 5 more minutes, so I can probably go through the next question, but just to be sure, I don't want to be unpolite if I may disappear. I still thank you very much for the opportunity.
I'm really grateful that you took the time to help us with these interviews. We go over to the next question, I guess. So how did that all affect your international travel, your collaborations? How does the situation has an impact on your research? Maria, will you start?
Actually, virtual talks have many advantages, and online meetings are so easy to schedule that everyone does it, and it happens. More people can attend, and also including those who might not otherwise get to hear from a high-profile scientist. The move to virtual conferences has widened also access for students and also for postdocs, also for me, because because you don't need to pay for travel, and also fees for online meetings tend to be lower. But I can tell you that at the same time, the most important aspect of attending conferences for me was the ability to make personal connections. The personal connections with other scientists with whom I might collaborate, I might seek advice, and I really miss networking and getting to know other people. That's very tough to do online. But I think that the future conferences will be kind of hybrid. I mean, also virtual and coupled with in-person events. But as I said, there are certain aspects of collaborations that are much, much harder to achieve purely through online interaction. And also sitting in the front of a screen all day is tiring. And when it comes to connections, collaborations, that's especially concerning the early career scientists like me, who are supposed to be meeting people who can guide you and also help you with your research.
Perfect. Yeah, I think we're all struggling with the in-person meeting, but enjoying to participate in online meetings, which are just far away, and they sometimes have it at weird schedules. I recently joined one in Japan, which meant I had to stay up all night long, but at least I saw most of the talks. So maybe, Tamas, before you go, you could quickly give us.
Yes. Well, actually, I feel also the same. I have mixed feelings with regarding the collaborations. It's definitely more efficient in certain situations, not in all, but having this Zoom or basically any other types of meetings is quite good also, because you don't just call your collaborator or email, but you can share the screen, you can immediately show the results. So definitely, as Maria discussed, so there could be some kind of hybrid thing in the future once the pandemic finishes, at least I think so. Because of this, so it can speed up or make some international collaboration, even domestic ones, more efficient. We don't have to travel even domestically to inside our countries to collaborate with people necessarily. Of course, there are some things which cannot be substituted, physical things, exchanging of samples, and probably efficiency showing instrument is not viable by discussion, but some certain aspects can be saved. So once again, thank you very much, and I need to leave. And have a great scientific. Let's keep up the things, all of you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining.
Bye bye.
Okay, then maybe Kali.
Yeah, I think I would echo what other people have said. There are definitely some advantages to a lot of these online conferences. Like people have said, it's much more affordable. I can recommend that my students go to as many of these conferences as they like, and I don't have to worry about the bill. And it's a really great opportunity to maybe sign up for some conferences that are a little bit more outside your normal research area as well, because it's not such a big risk. You don't have to pay such a lot of money to attend. And it's a nice opportunity to learn something new.
Do you also see some disadvantages?
Yeah, I think Zoom fatigue is real. I think everyone has spoken about how tiring it can be to spend your whole day in front of a laptop. And, you know, I also teach via Zoom. And so, you know, sometimes some days I spend my whole day going from one Zoom meeting to another Zoom meeting to another Zoom meeting. It's very tiring. And I think it can be harder to make new connections this way. I think some of my existing collaborations we've done quite well, because if anything, we've become more connected because we're all so used to now, or getting so used to using this technology and communicating this way. But making new collaborations and new connections is something I think that would still work better in person, and something I'm really looking forward to when we can start to travel in person again.
That's true. Jelena.
Actually, I really agree with Kali. I think the first meeting must be face-to-face, but another one, and actually everything else can be online, on Zoom, on another, no matter which platform. But actually, I like these online meetings because they save my time to go to another room, to go to another building. I think about my my institution, but at another country, at another city, that can measure how online meetings save our time and our money and everything else. And I agree with the conference, because on this way we can go to more conference, because we can pay just fees, not travel costs, not accommodation and everything else. But I think face-to-face meetings and face-to-face conference is more useful, because you can meet someone and you can remember him, because not just face, that's when you see people face to face, you can see their character on some way, and you can talk with him on another way. Because when I talk with someone on Zoom, I can talk, but I don't know your gesticulation and everything else. Because of that, I think Zoom is good and online is good, but some first meeting you must see person face to face.
That's true, yeah, I agree. Pawel, what is your experience?
Yeah, so referring back to the previous question, so I have to say that shortly after the STSM trip, I changed a job, and therefore I had to start new teaching duties, and yeah, it's a new place, and it was always like that it takes some time to adapt to the new situation. And then when COVID came shortly after I changed the job, so I had problems with leading a project, because I lead the project. I'm a PI of a project which is then performed with a collaboration with the people from Experiment, and of course then all the meetings were closed, so I could not go and personally to different places. So this was something which really stopped also my some of my work. But the most important for me was that unfortunately my very good colleague from the current job, from the current institute, he died due to the COVID, and then I had to took. So he was also a theoretician, and I had to. Yeah, so this was really a loss. I cannot still somehow think about it. I mean, this was really a great loss, which I cannot accept this. and then also after all, I had to also take all of his teaching duties. So now basically I have a double job because I have to take all of his teaching duties. So I'm doing this since many months right now. So I had to prepare all of the talks, all of the exercises from scratch, basically. So for me, this was really a huge effort right now, and this is still like that. So I have so many over hours, like basically like I have a double job at the moment. Yeah. So and this will be like that till the end of this semester. So this in such a way this affected me, and then. When it comes to the question about the online meetings, so as Jelena already said, I think this is very important. For the first meeting, we need to meet somebody personally, and these online meetings are really nice in terms, if you know somebody, then it can really save lots of time. And me as a theoretician, I know this style of work because I have also a PhD student, not in I had one in Warsaw, and I have still one in Vilnius, so in another country, and I was also collaborating with Germany. So I'm collaborating with people from different countries. So for me, this techniques like meetings online and exchanging information via email, I mean, this is for me the normal, usual way how I work. Yeah? So for me, this actually was not so much, this was not really much, the change was really not huge, was really only a small change. Of course, the teaching is online, so this is a bit exhausting. If you have, like me right now, if I have 7-8 hours of teaching every day, so this is really a lot. I mean, to do it online also. But of course, from the other hand, I mean, we see all how accessible the meetings are, how accessible the conferences are. So we can log in, go to Japan, go to US virtually, and if you know the people, I think this is a perfect opportunity to really to expand and your knowledge, and also to learn really many things which usually we have no time to go somewhere, but here you just click once and then you are somewhere else, and you can join the meetings, you can talk to the people. But for the young people who don't know the other researchers, I think this is really a loss. Yeah. So I mean, it's much harder to meet somebody online than to just go to the conference and meet somebody. So this is how I see the situation right now.
Yes, I think you're perfectly right. I think we know we have collaborators all over the world and we meet them on virtual conferences, but what we are missing is the coffee break, where we can just exchange knowledge on a one-to-one basis, or even with a tiny group, which is then missing, and you can't cope with a Zoom doing this. It doesn't work.
No, I just want to add something. So if my TSM trip was basically, origin of that was a conference in Białystok. Yeah? So, and then if it was online, then I would probably never talk to Professor Remediakis, and then I mean that it would never happen. Yeah, if it was
exactly.
online.
Yeah, it all happens usually during the coffee break or during the conference dinner, that you make a short contact with someone where you're interested in the work by acknowledging something, and then these connections happen. And this is missing now. It's sad, but it might come again. Fatima, do you have anything to add?
Now, as the colleagues said, one of the advantages of the online meeting is the flexibility in terms to attend meetings, organized even in different locations, and stay connected with colleagues. But I think online meeting facilitates to stay connected, but it cannot replace the human face-to-face contact.
That's true. Yeah, thank you. So I think the coronavirus has taught us how to deal with a pandemic, or is still teaching us how to deal with it. What advice could you give yourself if you could travel back in time, or what would you give to a PhD student if anything similar happens to us in 10, 15 years? Maybe Pawel, you have an idea.
Yeah, so I mean, my experience with doing things online is really large. Yeah, so I really, as a theoretician, as I said before, I have a contact with PhD students, so we usually exchange emails and doing many things online. So this is actually for me quite normal situation. So this pandemic situation is not a surprise, and it didn't change my life dramatically in terms of normal habits, usual habits. But my hint is for the other people, since I really I get to the working situation like that before the pandemic, because as a theoretician, I mean, I can do things like that. So I can bring my laptop somewhere and I can work somewhere else, and I'm doing this very often. So my hints are like that. So first of all, you have to really regularly meet with your inner circle of friends. Yeah? So don't forget really to contact your friends, your collaborators, not only if something happened or if you have some new information, just drop some very short informations regularly to keep contact with the people. So then you are not alone in this situation. Yeah. So this is one thing. The second is that actually this isolation can also bring us the positive things. Like, for example, you can focus on some understanding some issues which you usually have no time for. So you can read some books, you can expand your knowledge, and you can just focus on the things you usually had never time for that. Yeah? So because you are just driving somewhere, you're moving and so on. Now you are located in one place, you can just focus and understand something. And if we understand something, then we are happy. Yeah? So because we are scientists, and in science it is like that. You know? If you understand the issues, then this understanding makes you happier. Yeah? So if you can solve the problem, then it makes you more happy. Yeah. So this is the thing. And the last hint from my side is that you can, I mean, since you can work with using your laptop, so just go outside with this laptop. I mean, you can just hide yourself somewhere in the park, or you can go to the forest, or you can just go to the garden, wherever. Don't stay in one place. More diversity, so then the more happy you are. Yeah? So just diverse your places, and then just use the situation that you can take your laptop and you can go somewhere. Even if you go isolated in your car somewhere, you can just park in a nice surrounding and take your laptop and then send emails or talk to the people from some places. Yeah, so you can use this. So these are my advices. Yeah? So advices.
I think it's a good advice to help and stay in contact with your friends. It's really important, especially for the mental health. We are seeing that many people are facing problems. So maybe Kali, you can add something.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Pawel that on a personal level, it's really important to stay connected with people, to look out for each other as well, and to reach out to people that you know, because you never know who is struggling. If they're, if you don't talk to people, you don't find out who needs support. So, we have all of these tools that we use all of the time for work to stay connected, and we can also use them to stay connected with people, friends and family who are far away, and just to check in with people and make sure they're doing okay. And just to be kind to each other. And I think being kind to each other and to ourselves as well is also an important message for academically as well. So we shouldn't be focusing too much on the things that we can't do because of the pandemic. So we can't do as much lab work as we want to at the moment, right? That's that's unavoidable because there was a pandemic, and of course maybe we're not going to publish so many papers this year. Okay, well that's unavoidable. There's nothing you can do. But what we can do is celebrate the things that we're doing well. And I've been so impressed with the phenomenal job that all of the students that I've worked with have done in adapting to these really challenging circumstances and still doing such valuable research and just learning new perspectives. And I keep trying to tell them this, and they think I'm just being nice, but I'm not. I've been so impressed with how resilient everyone has been and how open everyone has been to learning new skills. And I think that's just as important as what they would have been doing in the lab if they could be getting in. So let's celebrate what we can do rather than focusing on all the things that we can't.
That's true. I think as experimentalists, it can be tricky. Suddenly you're stuck at home and your kitchen table becomes your new desk and everything is so different. We all struggled, I'd say, but we learn the best and we have to be kind to each other and reach out. Yeah, it's true. Jelena, maybe you can add something.
Actually, I think firstly, maybe they can hope it won't happen again, something like this. Firstly that, but I agree with all of you to stay in touch with their friends, family, if it is possible, because I think the worst thing is alone in pandemic situation in one room about 3 months. I think that's really bad for mental health. And for another thing, this pandemic bring us something good actually, because we knew something new. We can do some laboratory things in our kitchen sometimes if we need, or we can talk with people on Zoom application. We can have meetings online. I think we learn a lot with this pandemic.
Maria, some closing remarks?
So I completely agree what you have already said. So what kind of advice I would say, focus on your self-care, especially during this time. I mean, your mental health and also physical health, well-being is so important, because all of those things are going to help you approach your next, let's say, also career step, but also your life. And we have learned a lot. We have learned how something simple as washing your hands can protect against infections. And also in the last 20 years, we have had significant threats like SARS, like Ebola, like a swine flu, and this pandemic is probably not the last one. So we need to be looking also more closely at wildlife diseases. I mean, as lessons from lockdown, we need to think about our behavior, like deforestation, because such things is helping diseases to spread from animals into humans more frequently. And we all need to think about the resources we consume and the impact it has. So we need to learn still more and more.
That's true. I think for the future, we all have to kind of learn how to deal with the situation and how to improve the global environment. I think for all of us, the cost action was a great opportunity for getting to know each other, getting to know different countries, getting to know different measurements and techniques. It all helped us to develop and accelerate in our career. I'm really glad that you all could join me for this interview today. Does anyone have any closing remarks? Does anyone want to add anything?
So I want to share with you some of my thoughts about STSM. So then I really found it a great idea that such actions give the flexibility to the scientists, because we are very often really stuck somewhere. We stuck at a place, and we don't want to go out of our comfort zone. Yeah, so we just want to be at one place, and because this is comfortable. But and also bearing in mind the mechanisms at the universities, which is most likely, if you want to travel, then there is really lots of bureaucracy. You have to arrange many details and so on. And STSM is a very flexible tool to, first of all, meet with the people you want to meet. Secondly, such a short term stay gives you really ability to use these days as efficient as possible. You know? So you are not going for months, you are not going for years, just go for a short term, and you really have to know what you are going for. You have to plan your visit, benefit out of that. And then what I like the most is this flexibility, that you can really meet the people and spontaneously decide, okay, let's do something scientific together. And then it enables you to visit the place, to meet the people, share your thoughts, and also, of course, gain the scientific skills. Yeah, so like it was also in my case, that I could really go. Actually, we talk about the project during the lunch, then we met again the day after, and then we said, okay, we will do this and that, and then it was all successful. So I really like that it was really very efficient. You know?
I think also with Multicomp especially, we had in total 99 short-term scientific missions. That means people traveled all over Europe. People used the opportunity because it's great. As you say, it connects different labs, different people. People can enjoy working somewhere for 2 to 3 to 4 weeks and learn new skills.
Yeah, exactly, Irina. I completely agree. And this short-term scientific mission, and also my involvement in Multicomp, has also helped me to understand that science is collaborative. It's performed by diverse teams across borders, and also thinking about pandemic. This is also an opportunity for chemists, for life scientists, to be making the point that this work, this scientific work, is all of us. It's for all of us, it's for humankind. And I hope that the emphasis on international collaborations through STSM, through other collaborations will continue in the future in the research community. So I'm really glad to be a part of Multicomp.
Thank you. Any other closing remarks? Otherwise, I'm very grateful that you all joined me today, and thank you again. And I'm closing the interview now. Thank you.